Hey everybody, welcome to Adventures with Paul, Viewer Suggested Topics Day. Today's topic is really all about the bike, less about me. It came from a viewer, said, hey Paul, tell us about the bike. So what I'm going to do is tell you about the bike. About 2 years ago, I did a new bike day video on the Specialized Diverge and how it felt at that point in time. I'd always planned on doing a long-term review of the bike. Now how it feels after 2 years and about 6,500 miles of touring on it. And honestly, it feels damn good. I have 3 other bikes in my quiver, and I'm going to be giving one away. But my road bike is a 26-year-old Merlin Titanium with Campy Centaur on it, and that's great as a road bike because it handles like a Ferrari. Super sticky, super flicky into the corners, tracks beautifully, but that's designed for fast solo rides without carrying gear. I did take that through a very flat tour along North Carolina Outer Banks, but it wasn't suited for touring because I had to carry a backpack in order to have all my gear with me, and that just wasn't conducive to the particular ride. Next up is a 9er RLT9. I've had that since 2017. Took that across the Erie Canal for my first through ride. Put a flat bar on it, and the handling is a little bit twitchy. You get used to it after riding it for a while, but a little more twitchy than I would have wanted. I bought the Cirrus last year because I wanted a purpose-built flat bar bike, plus it looked wickedly cool with the compliance junction on the bottom. But now, 2 things. One is I think this Diverge carries the load better than that bike. And 2, perhaps more importantly, is my wife said she wanted to ride that one instead of her e-bike. That leaves me with the Specialized Diverge Comp Carbon. It's either a 22 leftover or a 23, I'm not sure. I have put 6,300 plus miles on this and taken it on multiple tours. And for my dollar, it is a very capable bike. I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, me, because I buy everything with my own money. So I'm giving you a true, honest to goodness review. I guess I'll start right up front with the cockpit. What I stare at most of the time is my GPS unit. This is a iGP Sport BC 300. I don't know, it's less than $100, and I have a dedicated GPS unit. There are more expensive ones on the market and ones that might do automatic routing, which this one doesn't do. But this one does everything I needed to do because I create a ride on Ride with GPS. I export the GPX and load it into my GPS, and I just follow the navigable line to my next destination. Handlebars are just basically drop bars. Nothing fancy. These are Specialized hovers. I did try putting some kitchen sink bars on from Redshift, but I rode those in my Heatwave tour in 2024, and I think it was just the way that the brifters were angled outwards because of the flare, but the palms of my hands would really get uncomfortable as part of that. The Ornat handlebar bag holds my lip balm, sunscreen. There's a little tiny backpacker towel. First rider comfort feature is what they call Future Shock 2.0. This is an internal spring that's dampened or loaded for a user definable setting. You can set it on the fly, and it either gives you, I guess, about 1.5 or 2 centimeters of travel inside the shock, or nothing. And that just basically soaks up the road bumps. And my opinion on the efficacy of that, it works pretty darn well. The second one that's rider comfort is the seat post. This was one of the reasons I upgraded to this bike compared to the one that was directly below it, was a Roval Terra seat post. This is a flexi seat post, not a suspension seat post, but a flexible one that eats up some of the vibration, gives some compliancy horizontally as you're pedaling. It works, I say, fairly well. I'm able to stay on the bike for a long period of time, and I'm comfortable with that. The tires are Schwalbe G1 all-round gravel tires. These were replaced about 1,400 miles ago from the original Specialized Pathfinder Pros. The Pathfinder Pros worked really well. I would have bought them again, but they were no longer available. I decided to go back to tubes instead of tubeless. When tubeless works well, it works well. When it doesn't work well, it is just a mess. So rather than have all of that sealant just sputter out all over the place, and decided to just replace them and go with 2 tubes. I use TPU tubes. The last ones I bought were from a brand called Ride Now. They were about $10 a piece, I believe, from AliExpress. Brakes are the standard GRX disc brakes on the bike. Pads still look not bad for wear. Drivetrain on the bike is a GRX 2x11. Up front there's a 4630 chainring. In the rear I have an 11-40 cassette. I did change that out from the original 11-34. I felt that gearing was too steep for what I wanted to do in terms of carrying loads. When I swapped out the cassette for the 1140 about 4,000 miles ago, I also put a new chain on, and measuring it with my chain tool, it looks like it's still in good condition. It hasn't really been pulled out of alignment, so I'll hold on to this for a while. The frame itself is a Fact 9R carbon, and that's a fact. I've gone back to flat pedals. I've vacillated between clipless and flats, but now I think I'm just going to go full on flats for touring. I mean, yeah, with my setup, it was like an SPD. I actually had Crank Brothers. The cleats are recessed. You can walk around in the shoes, but they're not really comfortable, and they're kind of a little bit more clunky. Having the flats means I can use any shoe on it, and I only have to bring one shoe with me rather than one for the bike and then one for when I get off of the bike. I have a 3 bottle cage set up on this bike, so with all 3 bottles combined, I figure I have about a 45-mile range, probably somewhere around a 4-hour range or so before I have to refill water. And generally within that time, at least for the riding that I do, I can find a water fountain or a park, and if I can't, it's almost guaranteed there's going to be a Dollar General within any small hamlet of the United States where I can buy a bottle of water. This frame has what Specialized calls the SWAT system, which is an acronym for Storage, Water, Air, Tools. And that is hidden right behind the door of the water bottle cage on the down tube. And I can store all of the repair kit that I need inside the frame. So that includes the pump, 2 spare brand new TPU tubes. There's a little bag that contains a chain breaker and a multi-tool. I really like this little multi-tool. It's got all the little bits on it. Really, really handy, really small. And I got 2 brand new chain links on it as well. For night riding, if I'm caught out after dark or before sunrise, I've got a Saigo light, Metrolink 800 lumen light. Now to carry my kit on bikepacking adventures, the front fork has 2 water bottle bosses which align with my Ortlieb fork pack racks. These are proprietary to Ortlieb. I have 2 5.8 liter packs that go on the front fork. I don't load them up very heavily, generally around 4 pounds worth. On the rear is a traditional rack setup. I have a tail fin rack which was purchased before they were even a company. They had a Kickstarter campaign out which I sponsored, and they built the original T1 rack. So I got the original carbon hoop rack with 2 22 liter bags, and this thing is just completely brilliant. So thanks for spending the time going over the bike. If you have any specific questions, I'll do my best to answer them. I'm not a professional bike reviewer. What is a professional bike reviewer anyway? But after 2 years, I think the most capable bike in my arsenal is this one. So I'm going to be donating my Niner RLT to a worthy bicycle advocacy so that someone gets far more value out of riding it, since it's just kind of sitting against the wall in my garage.